This is Gateway City Sports.
It's a trap!
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
This is the Team of Rivals podcast.
Everything you want to hear from the big sports to the big screen.
He's all by himself, fires into the end zone. Caught! Touchdown! No!
Vaughn into the windup in his first offering. Just a bit outside. He tried the corner in this.
Doesn't like you. I don't like you either.
Time winding down, Michael for three. Yes! She is gone!
I can't believe what I just saw.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy! You believe in miracles? Yes!
You may fire when ready.
What?
Good evening, Cubs and Cardinals fans. Welcome to the Team of Rivals podcast. It's Thursday, January 11th. It's the eve of the Cubs convention. It's the eve of a huge snowstorm that's coming to the western suburbs and is, I think, largely shut down most school districts. Some are going completely snow day. Others, like Elliott's, as I just overheard before the show started, are going remote learning. But that doesn't matter because they did the thing. The Cubs finally did the thing. And we're not just talking about claiming a guy off waivers and adding him to the 40-man roster, who, by the way, he got DFA'd today. No, the Cubs did the thing in the last 48 hours. And, you know, we kind of bullied, trolled Ron into this one, forced him to go live because we knew you'd want to watch. Anyway, before we get into it, follow us on social media, Team of Rivals Pod. And for those of you who prefer to watch the show, like now, we also post to YouTube, Facebook, and Rumble, so hit the like and subscribe buttons. Be sure the notifications are on so that you know anytime we post new content. Joining me for this week's show, co-founder of TOR and number 151 in the 2023 edition of C70's Top Cards on Twitter, Ron Nuttall, and permanent occasional guest host. This is 2 weeks in a row, man. Elliot Dewey. Elliot, how you feeling? The Cubs did the thing.
They did.
Cubs fans can't complain
anymore.
guys.
We
Let me get Elliot on here in a second. My bad.
We did it. Yay. Yeah. Pretty exciting. I mean, we have been complaining about this all offseason, and finally they did the thing to give us some news. So it's fantastic.
And we'll obviously get into the specifics of what happened in the last 48 hours. But also it seems like, at least from the way the rumor mill is running, and obviously they're just rumors, and that's never a guarantee of any actual activity. The way that the Dodgers dominated the early portion of free agency this year, or the offseason this year, looks like the Cubs could be the movers here in the middle of the offseason, because obviously they made a couple of moves in the last week, some pretty significant ones in the last 48 hours, and it doesn't sound like they're done.
Yeah, it's after all the complaining. I know it's been all the complaining that the fans have been doing the last 6 weeks about do something, Jed, and it came all the way down to the Cubs being the last team in the MLB to make a major league roster move.
And who knew that it was actually, right? We thought it was Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah.
Well, first we thought it was Juan Soto. Then we thought it was Shohei Ohtani. Then we thought that it was Yoshinobu Yamamoto. But all along, it was Shota Imanaga who was holding up everything. Because
who has
he
been
signs, and then all of a sudden the Cubs are making deals with the Dodgers. Stroman signs with the Yankees. The Reds are actually signing players. What kind of madness is this?
Yeah, it's nuts. You got Joey Votto out on Twitter today looking for a job.
And Ron's awfully quiet because, well, the Cardinals are done for the offseason, aren't they, Ron? They signed those three pitchers, and that's it. They're DeWitt and Mo are closing up shop.
Trying to fix Elliot's camera. Don't talk to me yet.
They're happy with what they've done this season. They feel really good about it.
Feel comfortable and confident.
They feel comfortable and confident about it, and they'll evaluate during the year. When it comes up to the trade deadline, and see where they go from there.
That's right. Well, for those Cardinals fans who are tuned in and who aren't aware of what's happening, I mean, I'm sure you couldn't have missed the fact that the Cubs seemingly came out of nowhere. Although, if you follow the reports, maybe not so out of nowhere. There was a lot of reporting on finalists for a while there, and it kind of looked like Imanaga was going to go to San Francisco, and then apparently the Cubs swoop in.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you saw the report, Elliot, but apparently he's been in Chicago since Christmas. So his headquarters was Chicago.
Yeah, it's been crazy that he's been here that long and nobody has said anything or caught wind about it. So he must have been all sheltered in since Christmas. So who knows? And
there's a report that there was a more significant offer for him, right?
Yes.
Not nearly as complicated, but he still chose the Cubs, which just goes back to the point that we've been saying for the last several months. Just because you make and this is what I think Cubs fans in particular don't understand or can't grasp. Just because you make the biggest monetary offer does not guarantee that somebody is going to come to your team.
Right.
There are other factors that apply. Didn't matter how much money. I mean, I'm sure there was a dollar amount eventually that could have pried Yamamoto and Ohtani away. It was going to be $1 billion, right? That's what you're going to have to offer to get them to not go to the Dodgers. And I think that was the case. If there was a stronger offer on the table for Imanaga and he didn't sign there, look, it's not exactly the same thing. God, I hope it doesn't turn out the same way. But it's Jason Hayward all over again, right? There was a bigger offer on the table, and you decided to come to the Cubs.
Yeah, let's hope that the performance with Imanaga is a little bit better than what we saw out of Jason Hayward.
Mm-hmm.
But super exciting. Excited to see him pitch. I mean, I haven't watched him pitch since the baseball classic when he pitched against the U.S. and pretty much dominated. So he's exciting, and obviously that wasn't the only move that has been made in the last 2-3 days. We saw the trade with the Los Angeles Dodgers this afternoon for some Cubs getting back some MLB ready prospect and a relief pitcher for some very young pitching infield prospects that the Cubs have. Outfield prospects that the Cubs have. So, but they were some of the best in our farm system.
Well, they had a lot of helium. They've been moving up, right? I think Jackson Ferris is rated as like the 4th best pitching prospect that the Cubs have.
Mm-hmm.
And then Zahir Hope was reportedly the best Cubs prospect in the complex league this year, right? So down in Arizona. So I know that there are some people who are prospect hoarders, and obviously those are Ron's favorite people, who are kind of disappointed by this, right? Because these guys are demonstrating some potential, but they're both at least probably 2, maybe 3 years away. And in Hope's case, you look at it, and theoretically he's blocked, right? Ian Happ's signed for a while.
Yep.
Seiya is signed for a while, and you would assume that PCA is going to be locking down center field soon.
Yeah, and Ferris you wouldn't have seen until at the earliest 2027.
Right.
So I mean, he is quite a few seasons away. So I mean, will we be kicking ourselves in the ass in 3 years when he's pitching for the Dodgers and one of their aces of their rotation? Maybe.
Depends on what Michael Busch does.
That's right.
And that's the prospect return on this. In case you missed it, I don't know if Ron even caught it, but the Cubs got the Dodgers' number 2 prospect. He's currently ranked, what is it? I think 44 on MLB.
Mm-hmm. Top 100.
Or is it Baseball America? One of them has him ranked 44. So he's a legit prospect. And I think, he's what do they say? He's a first baseman, third baseman, DH, correct, possibly corner outfielder. I think he just punched Matt Mervis's ticket out of Chicago.
I think so too.
Matt Mervis is done.
He's done some really good stuff in the minor leagues. In hitting, I think he had over 1,000 OPS last season, was batting like 327, 24 home runs. I glanced at the statistics today, and he's projected to be like a 25 homer guy. So
great,
with really great contact, high walk rate.
A little bit of a butcher over at first.
Yep. Average strikeout rate. So we'll see.
And reportedly unplayable at third base. So they did not, although he's listed as a third baseman, he's unplayable at third. And look, he wasn't going to make it. He wasn't going to make it to the majors with the Dodgers, right? They got Freddie Freeman. They got Mookie Betts. There's nowhere that he's going to displace.
That's
anybody.
why he played third base all of last season, is because that was the only way that he was going to make it up to the major league team, is if he were to take over for Max Muncy over at third base.
Right. And clearly they didn't think that he was, because they were willing to get rid of him. So the Cubs do the things in 48 hours, signing probably the first, I don't think the only starting pitcher that they'll be signing this offseason or trading for. And then picking up possibly their first baseman of the future.
Yeah. And honestly, when I first heard that the Cubs were getting Bush, I thought it might have been Morel going over in that trade.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I was pleasantly surprised, but that it was very young prospects that were going over there. Even though they're good prospects, still prospects, they can go either way. So
they're going to get in the Dodger. They're going to get in the Dodger system, and they're going to be. You know how it goes. You know how it goes with that team.
Yeah, they'll be great. But it gives Cubs.
You kind of always wish for both teams to win a trade, right?
Yeah.
No.
In which
unless you're Mo,
could totally happen.
Right. Now, if Mo had made this trade, if he had somehow finagled this one, he would have gotten the Dodgers to sign an extension with Bush, and then the Dodgers would have paid for the whole extension in return for two lottery tickets who wouldn't have panned out. Speaking of lottery tickets that didn't pan out, did you see that Andrew Kisner signed today for 1.8 something million? So the Rangers got DFA'd, and the Rangers picked him up. So the Rangers obviously think that they can do something with him. So good on Kiz.
Well, it's surprised. I thought the Rangers were pretty much going to be done. You know, they're facing some uncertainty financially too, like many other teams are with TV rights, and we won't talk about that again. I'm pretty sure we ate up a good 20 minutes last show talking about that. But yeah, I thought they were kind of done, but he's a serviceable backup. I don't know what they signed him with the intention to do, would be to start, maybe as a split. Not sure. He's capable defensively. Good player. So pretty low risk, cheap pickup. So good luck to him. But the Cardinals, I think, wanted to make for Ivan Herrera. I mean, maybe he would have benefited from some time in AAA, but there's nothing left for him to prove, really. I think defensively, especially at that level. So he'll be back up, and with Contreras being the primary catcher, he's going to get plenty of starts. So they needed to make some room for him. So DFAing him made sense. I'm kind of not surprised that happened.
Yeah, and interesting that he was actually able to find a deal that paid him more than what the projection was.
I kind of like sitting here not saying anything, just channeling my AJ Hawk from the McAfee show. Just sit there and stare at my big old head, my big old meat head, and not really say anything.
And nothing else, because the contrast is just terrible enough that all we can see is your head and neck, and that's it.
That's fine.
You don't really know if you have a torso.
I turn the light on, but I don't want to. I didn't want to go live. I fucking hate it. And here we are.
You can remain looking like MODOK back there.
Part of me, I was just going to use like the, I don't have an avatar widget for this thing, but I guess I could have just left my profile picture up there. Yeah, if I want to put the research in, but that's how much I want to live stream. I'm not putting any research into it. I don't care. Yeah, the lighting's terrible in here, but whatever. I'm using my... whatever the green glow is coming off. I look like I'm sickly right now, but that's fine. Let's just press forward. You were asking me some Cardinals questions earlier, but I was trying to fix Elliot's camera, so I forgot to set him up before we hit the button. So I don't know what you asked me. I wasn't listening to anything.
Yeah,
Sorry.
honestly, neither do I.
I
don't
know where it was going.
Ron, did you? You obviously didn't hear about this trade at all, did you? Based on
No,
your,
I saw it
complete
today.
Lack of a response.
No, I did see it. I don't know. It was earlier. So I took my son back to the airport today. We were there a couple hours early, and I waited with him. And of course, I was checking out MLB trade rumors because I saw something come across Twitter. But it's never enough info. It's usually filled with anger and emotion. So I just go to a reputable website to actually get the facts. So I checked it out. But do I have much of an opinion on it? No, because I don't know your minor league system very well, other than what you guys might tell me. So I don't really have an opinion. I did notice Stroman. Yeah. Stroman did sign with the Yankees. I just heard you mention that at the beginning.
He did.
Yep. Good for him? Question mark. 2 years, 37. 2 years, 37.
Yeah, and there are vesting options if he hits certain marks. Then it becomes 3 years, 55.
So
less than he would have gotten if he had. Less than he would have gotten if he had stuck with the Cubs and maybe gone back out on the market next year. But you kind of wonder if the fact that it's going back to New York wasn't too much of an enticement for him. You know?
It was pretty good deal for the Yankees, really. I mean, for an organization like this, just 2 years. That's, I mean, what? Sneeze 17 million out a year, 17 and a half, whatever it is, 18 and a half. Yeah, not a bad deal.
And I don't think that it puts them out of the market for somebody like Blake Snell or Montgomery.
I think they walked away. I read that they had balked at his asking price.
I read that they made an offer on Snell, and then obviously it was too steep, and so they pivoted to Stroman. But maybe they're going to look to get a value pickup on one of those two if the market doesn't develop. I don't see that happening.
I don't know.
There are too many names connected to them.
Snell to me just feels like a trap.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And I think Montgomery is I don't think that his market's going to collapse. There have been too many teams connected to him. I think he's going to get a nice payday.
Yeah, he will. He should. He's pretty durable.
Yeah. And based on what he did with the Cardinals and then what he did with the Rangers, there's enough tape there to think that the recent development is real. Yep.
Now, Pete, next moves.
Well,
there's still some holes.
There are. Well, next moves, Elliot. This is probably going to panic you. I don't know if you've looked, but Crawley over there on X has posted saying, hoping I'm wrong, but I'm hearing that the reason Christopher Morel isn't coming to CubsCon is not because of the weather. So Morel could be on the move. And, there was a rumor. I don't think it's going to happen. I think John Morosi was just throwing it out there.
Is this
John
Randy Arozarena?
Randy Arozarena in as a potential Cubs target this offseason. I don't see it, but that'd be fun.
I just saw that. Now that's one that your ears perk up and go.
How fun would that be to bring Randy Arozarena back to St. Louis?
No. Not back to St. Louis, no.
Ron, you don't seem too excited about that.
Well, I mean, it's just, I can just only imagine, right? Like, I can just only imagine
would Cardinals Twitter be?
Well, I mean, if they were mad at Mo to begin with, which they are perpetually, if a bad trade he made came back to haunt him through a Cubs uniform, that's worse, right? Like, bad enough that we have to watch Garcia and Arozarena start the All-Star game last year, right? But you put him in a Cubs uniform and have him do the same thing. And I mean, a dude is going to have to take like underground passage back and forth home. I'd be scared for him. I'd worry about him. Yeah, that wouldn't be very fun to watch.
Hey, speaking of bad trades coming back to haunt you in your rival's uniform, what do you think the likelihood is that the Cardinals might land Cease in a trade? Because Mo's pretty much, without saying it explicitly, Mo has closed the books on signing anybody. But he hasn't given any indication that he's done. Do you think they'd give up the prospects necessary to land Dylan Cease? And if he did, Elliot, how much would you throw up in your mouth? Ron, you first.
I'll have some time to think about it. I don't think something like that's likely. I think what I had, their asking price is ridiculously high, and I don't think it's read that in multiple places, right? So, I don't see that occurring. I'd be really, really surprised. Are they? I think they're willing to give up certain people. They're just not like willing to give up like 3 or 4 of them together, right? I mean, they can deal from a position of strength, but I'm not sure that they've got an abundance of those. So I don't think anything like that's likely. There's bound to be. I mean, think about maybe an organization like Baltimore, who's got to draft first like 19 years in a row, might have racked up some high level prospects or somebody like that, right? That could potentially make that. I just don't see the Cardinals doing that. They signed 3 starters. We could, we've already gone over who they are and the quality of them and everything, but they are 3 innings eaters, right? Yeah, their numbers are what they are. Strange enough, their numbers were, kind of tallied up with the White Sox too, right? So, from last year anyway. I don't think they're in desperation mode. I don't know. I mean, I don't think they would shy away from a talent like that, but I just think the asking price is going to be out of their reach. So I don't think that'll happen.
Elliot, if it were to happen,
that'd be so
on a scale of, bad breath to choking on your own vomit, where would you be as far as throwing up in your own mouth?
Choking it back down.
Yeah, really.
Not necessarily blowing chunks, but I would choke it back down.
So like you didn't think that pizza sauce was going to hit you, but the first time you leaned over to
first it started with heartburn, and then it just all of a sudden came up.
But you were able to contain it. It wasn't so bad that okay, let's put that out there. Let's establish that as the new criteria. What Cardinals or Cubs player landing on the other team would completely cause you to blow chunks?
Not just puke point, but like beyond it.
Yeah, just beyond it. Yeah.
Okay.
You can't hold it in. It's that bad.
What Cardinal right now that's active right now?
Yeah, active. Right. Yeah, because you're not going to say Yachty, right?
Right.
Like obviously Yachty's not coming out of retirement to go play for the Cubs.
It would,
because he might actually make me vomit if he did.
Gosh, I don't know. I mean, it's easy to go to the superstars, but if the Cardinals aren't going to give guys like Arenado or Goldschmidt a good run for it, and they're still got plenty in the tank left, but they've only got maybe 4 or 5 more years before they're either floating around the league or DHing only, or maybe just hanging it up. So it's hard to say like one of the stars that's north of 30, if they had a chance with Chicago, that I wouldn't feel as bad about that. So it would have to be somebody young. I have to say like maybe Jordan Walker, but they're still he's good, but is he great? Don't know yet. So it's a hard one for me to kind of give you guys right now. There's not like the next Albert Pujols or a hopeful like an Oscar Tavares like talent there that, boy, it would really make me sick to my stomach if they ended up in Chicago somehow. Randy Rosarina would probably be the closest thing, just simply because we've already been drugged through it enough over like 2 or 3 years. Since that guy really broke out. Man, I would hate that. I can't say that I hate that more than any other Cardinal being dealt there. But it's like, gosh, can we just let that wound scab over? And if he ended up in Chicago by a trade or something like that, it would just open it right back up again.
You'd be picking at it.
Yeah, I'd be picking at it out of nervousness and anxiety. I don't know. I don't have a real good answer for you, but it'd have to be somebody young. So I just have to throw Jordan Walker in there or Mason Wynn or somebody, right? But there's still questions: are they going to be great or is it going to be okay?
Right.
Don't know.
How about you?
If you just real quick, I can pull from an example on this, right? Like at one point in time, if you would ask me, like maybe back in 1990 or something, or 91, I would have said, oh gosh, Todd Zeile is going to be our future. They ended up trading him to Chicago, like in the early 90s, right? So I've kind of seen that happen before, but he was already like, okay, we know he's not going to be great. He might be a good player, but he's not going to be great.
Yeah, it was okay.
Yeah, he was okay.
Right now, I would have to say Justin Steele. Justin Steele would be the guy that if he went over to the Cardinals, that'll probably make me sick to my stomach every time we would see him.
Because he would probably get there and then shove even more.
Oh God, yes, probably.
Surprised you didn't.
Well, but he'd be throwing to Wilson, and Wilson would
That's
screw
true.
him up. So
I mean,
we're gonna get to that.
Give and take.
We're gonna get back to the Wilson thing because oh my God, I tell you what, for me, it's going to be one of two, and it's kind of along the lines of what you said, right, Ron? It's either going to be a guy like say Matt Mervis, right? I think the writing's on the wall. Matt Mervis is gone. That's why you traded for Michael Bush today. You gave Matt Mervis more than enough of an opportunity to establish himself in the majors last year, and it's clearly not going to happen. He from what I've read, the kid not only didn't adapt well to major league pitching, but also couldn't get out of his own head in trying to do it. And that's a bad sign, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would hate to see the Cubs give up on a young power hitter and then he goes to St. Louis and St. Louis unlocks him. Like that would really, especially if Bush doesn't pan out or if they're unable to trade or sign Alonso, right? Like something like that, right?
Yeah.
The search for a new first baseman continues, and meanwhile, the kid that you gave up on too soon explodes. So that would be one. The other one that
it didn't bother you how the Cardinals unlocked John Lester finally?
Yeah, because before he got there, he was just terrible. He couldn't find it, and then he landed in St. Louis. Yep. The other one, and it's kind of along those lines, Ron. Actually, I think the thing that would really make I don't know that it'd be because it wouldn't last as long.
Mm-hmm.
But somehow,
Kyle Hendricks.
I don't know how the fates would have this play out.
Yeah.
But if Chris Bryant somehow ended up in St. Louis, right? Like the Cardinals, the Cardinals trade Arenado before his value is completely gone, right? And then next year in the offseason, they pull another trade with O'Dowd and get Bryant, and he returns to form.
While Colorado pays for it, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like it would last that long, but next year Chris Bryant is the starting third baseman and he's right back to being rookie of the year MVP Chris Bryant, where he's playing better than average third base and he's hitting like an all-star again. That I think that's the other one. I think those are the two.
No Schwarber at DH.
Yeah.
No, I was going to go. I toyed with the idea of Rizzo, but I think he's too old. I just don't see him landing there. I mean, he's basically the same age as Goldschmidt. It's not going to happen. No,
he wouldn't be an everyday player.
No, and he's
by the time it
with
would
the
happen.
Yankees.
Yeah,
he's happy with the Yankees. The Yankees are happy with him. He's not going anywhere.
Yeah,
but Bryant,
there isn't much to pick from, is there?
Get anybody to take that contract on. Bryant could be on the move.
Gosh, years ago it would have been easy to throw a name out there. This would hurt. And it's a little harder right now.
Yeah, it is, because the names that probably would really hurt, they're not getting traded. Right?
Yeah,
like Justin Steele, he's not going to St. Louis unless he signs as a free agent. But that's 4 or 5 years down the road. So that's not coming anytime.
Same
soon,
with Walker.
right?
Walker's probably another 5 years, right? 5 years away.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. But 3 years ago, right? 2020, before the great sell-off. Oh yeah. We would have been talking about Bryant and Baez and Schwarber and Rizzo, any number of them. Even then we would have talked about Hendricks, right?
I don't know who I would have been talking about in 2020.
Yeah, but we would have.
I don't think I would have. I guess it would have been Goldschmidt at that point in time, but it wasn't. It wouldn't have been Arenado. They didn't have him yet.
Nope.
So, cool.
All right. So, I said we were going to come back to it, and we are.
Yeah.
Ron, what do you think? Why suddenly are all of the Cardinals pitchers, including former pitchers, hi there, Jack Flaherty, suddenly coming out and basically giving a mea culpa about bad-mouthing Wilson Contreras? You think they're being forced out by Cardinals? I mean, obviously, Cardinals management doesn't have any say over Jack Flaherty anymore, but all of a sudden, Miles Michaelis is coming out and saying, Wilson's not that bad a catcher, and he didn't deserve all the shit he caught last year. I mean, this seems pretty orchestrated. They both came out within like a day of each other.
Yeah. I think there were two different interviews. One was with Jack Flaherty, the other with Michaelis, and I think it could have been Pete. Where one interviewer saw another one ask a Cardinal pitcher last year, even albeit former, a question regarding Wilson Contreras. So the next day, the guy who was interviewing a current Cardinal pitcher thought he would throw the same type of thing out there, since it was new news, right? Since it was just kind of a thing that was out there. I don't think the Cardinals brass orchestrating something like that. First of all, they don't fucking handle PR well at all, right? They're terrible. And so, no, I don't think that was a scheme. I think it was, oh, hey, one of these pitchers was willing to kind of address it where they really didn't, during while the season was going. But they finally did. So it's like, okay, we got another one already scheduled for an interview. Let's just kind of throw the same thing at them and see what they have to say. But look, you guys know where I stood on that last year, right? I think he got a shit end of the deal. I don't think the organization handled it well at all, but I think he did. Yeah. I guess it's good to hear the pitchers come out and say, yeah, I sucked. This didn't have to do with the other end of the battery here. It had to do with me. I was just bad. But I do believe some of that, I don't know. I guess I feel like some of those guys still felt that way. Like it was the relationship they had with the catcher, whether it was planning, whether it was pitch calling, whatever. Because I think one of Jack Flaherty's quotes, and I don't remember it exactly, was, we're throwing pitches that don't make sense. How else do you read that? You read that as whoever's calling the pitch, right? Instead, what he tried to clarify and said, no, we're throwing pitches that don't make sense. And that was just, he meant the quality of the pitches he was throwing didn't make any sense. I don't know if I believe that. But I don't think Jack Flaherty's under any pressure, being a Tiger now, to provide air cover for Wilson Contreras or carry his water or anything else. I think it was just, I think some of it was just trying to make up for it, giving the guy some credit just because of the way he handled the situation. But look, that pitching staff sucked last year. I think we knew it was going to happen. Knew it was going to happen going into the year. Didn't think it would get as bad as it did, but it did. And it was terrible. So that's why I think if you look around at a lot of the reasonable, even a lot of the insane fans, but a lot of the reasonable fans, like, we weren't hanging this on Contreras. We knew it was a problem going in. It had been a problem the previous 2 years where they had to deal for guys mid-year. They held for 4 pitchers in the prior 2 seasons, mid-season. Just means that they've got a thin pitching staff. It was fragile, and it broke down. And they don't, they've neglected pitching development on their end. Any kind of funnel that could replace any loss or close any gap, they just didn't have it. They're just in bad shape. And, the catcher caught, I think, a majority of heat for it there for a brief period of time, but I think he handled it well. So I don't know what those guys' motivation was. Michaelis still has Contreras as a teammate, so it's probably in his best interest to, maybe answer that in a way that is not going to, I guess, foul up the relationship going forward, because they're going to be playing together for a few years. In Flaherty's case, I don't know, maybe some of it was genuine, but I don't know what to think about Jack. I don't miss him too much. Can't hear you.
Seems like Cardinals fans' opinion of Jack Flaherty has changed quite a bit in the last 2 years. Yeah. What was the inflection point?
It's hard to say. Like,
because
when
there was a point when people were criticizing Jack Flaherty, and the Cardinals fans got in high dudgeon to defend him and calling anybody who criticized him racist.
Well, yeah. I remember that. Well, the inflection point with Cardinals fans, I think that was your question, right? I think and I think this is with any fan base and player, we all love a guy who backs it up, right? Whether he's mouthing on social media or kind of having a shitty attitude with reporters. If their on-field performance is where we would all want it to be, and we have a bad habit of looking past all that stuff, right? Like, player has bad attitude, but their numbers are great. that's a lot of air cover. Like we tend to ignore, filter out, that the guy might be an asshole. I'm not calling him an asshole. I'm just saying, like, I'm just making an example, just in general here.
Sure.
We can overlook that if they're kicking ass out in the field. But if you're behaving that way and you suck, that's going to be a much different story. You see that all over the place, right? Player gets vocal. They carry themselves like they're Billy Badass, and then they go out there and give up rope after rope after rope. Well, now we have more of a problem with what you say. Now it's like, why don't you forget about all the other issues outside of baseball, fix your game, come back to us later with your opinion, because right now I don't want to hear it. I want you to go back out and be the Jack Flaherty in 2019, not whatever is being thrown out there in 2023. So I think that was what happened, Pete. So when it happened, I'm not sure. Probably had a lot to do with his being vocal, being short with reporters, especially reporters who are really respected, like Derek Gould. Hey, you don't know the art. You don't understand the art of pitching, Derek. Guy's covered baseball for 2 decades. Yeah, he's not a pitcher, but he's covered it long enough to where, anyway, you know what I'm saying? Like, he got a pretty shitty attitude with some of the reporters that a lot of Cardinals fans follow and respect. And his performance wasn't good. So just a bad formula. I don't know. I don't know if it happened last year before, not sure, but the guy's carried himself with an attitude that his performance didn't meet. So generally people have a problem with that, or just, you get worn on it, right? And you're like, go move on, go do this somewhere else. I don't want to hear it anymore. There's my answer.
Yeah. Brilliant.
So this is kind of for both you guys. There's one pitcher out there who is trying to get a job back in the MLB.
Ooh, I love this.
Do you think it happens this year, or do you think that the time expiration on fans forgetting is next year? And you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, you're talking about Trevor Bauer outage.
Yes.
I know it can be a sensitive topic, but I don't know what kind of a mood I'm in right now, but I'm kind of in a bad one. So, and for no particular reason.
Yes.
For no particular reason. But you know how we are in society today, right? Like, we want justice to be served before any facts are laid out on the table of anything, right? We always want that. Yeah. Fuck due process. I don't like the guy. Lock him up, lock her up, lock whoever up, lock them all up, right? And I'd say that that's probably a case of it right there, Elliot, where if you are just looking at fact, the guy has not been charged or convicted of anything.
Correct.
But that's never going to be good enough for the guy floating around on Twitter who's trying to get other girls to say, what a nice guy. So he's going to get on there and say, Trevor Bauer should never throw another pitch in the major leagues.
Is he an asshole? Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
Well, I think we all knew he was an asshole. We knew he was an asshole well before any of this happened.
Yeah. He loved to stoke the fire and get fans going. I mean, one of the best memes is him. He's walking off the field.
Yeah, he's doing the Conor McGregor walk, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Guarantee you the guy is on the spectrum.
Oh.
He may not have been tested, but I guarantee you he's on the spectrum with the way that he behaves.
Spectrum of what? So explain to me.
Autism spectrum.
Yeah, maybe. Sure.
And that's why they describe it as a spectrum.
I'm no expert here. I'm just
who are like massively autistic, right? And who can't interact with anybody else at all. And then you have people who are normally functioning, but they don't have those kind of social skills to be able to interact well with other people, but they can exist in society. I guarantee you he's on that end of the spectrum.
Or he's
based on the way he behaves.
Or he's in the dead center of the spectrum of he's just an asshole.
Could be that too.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like dead center.
A little bit of a psychopath.
Narcissist.
Well, and this isn't to defend him, but I mean, I guess it is a little bit. Like, how do you throw a guy under a bus like that, right? When, according to him, and backed up by some of the texts that he's released, I mean, makes me cringe to say this, but they asked for it.
They really did.
And not in a, hey, you were asking for it, right? Not in a, you showed up in a short skirt at a bar. What did you expect to happen to you? As in a, when we get home, I want you to choke me and punch me in the face.
It's well, I mean, just, based on the, we don't know everything, but based on what we've been shown, what we've been allowed to see, it's certainly, her intentions were pretty clear.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to get paid.
Not only that, she hasn't, it's been what, 2 months since it came out? Neither she nor her attorneys have come out to dispute any of what he released.
I know.
And there's it was released. There's no NDA for either party. So if he was lying about it, she could come out and dispute it. And she's not.
No, because she got her money from whatever insurance.
From insurance, but not from him.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which, however that works.
I know that's a sensitive topic for some.
Whoever the agent was who signed that for her, he's lost his job. He is no longer working there.
Well, I know for some people he'll always be guilty, even not backed up by fact. They want him to be guilty, and so they'll never think otherwise. And I get it. As far as baseball letting him back in, I don't know. They don't have a reason not to. The only reason no, that's not true. No, there's a reason not to, and that you don't want. And
he's a PR nightmare because he won't fucking shut his mouth.
And that's ultimately what's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
Eventually, Major League Baseball is going to have to reinstate him, but they'll go. They'll have off the record conversations with all of the owners who they think are suspect, right? Like, I'm sure that they know that there are some owners who are never going to sign this guy, right? Like the Dodgers are not going to sign him. They don't have to worry about the Dodgers. Yeah. But the teams, the Maverick owners,
like the Mets,
they might have to go talk to Steve Cohen, who knows, right?
Yeah.
But the Maverick owners who they don't necessarily think that they see things the way that they do, they may have to go to them and say, you're not signing this guy. We're not bringing him back. We're gonna reinstate him. You're not signing him. Just don't. That they're going to collude.
Yeah, basically.
And nobody is going to complain about it because nobody likes him.
Yeah, it's going to be kind of like it'll be, in a way, I know it's not the same, but it'll be like the Kaepernick treatment, right? Like,
right.
Well, I don't know. I can't say too bad or whatever, but I think that, given what we know, I'm not going to be bitching and whining if he ends up signing with a club somewhere and is in a major league uniform next year. I'm not going to be crying about it.
Nope.
Or feel like I've been cheated out of decency.
So, So let's, we're getting on here. Let's just throw it out here. Ron, are the Cardinals done? And if not, what's your best guess on who is still on their radar? Not necessarily a specific name, but maybe a position or a position group.
Yeah, I think the only additions that would be that I would if I had to guess, it would be some marginal bullpen move is about the only thing I think there's left to do. I don't think I don't see anything like the Cease deal happening. I don't really see them, unless, there's a super talent out there and it's overwhelming them, that they, chase it down. But I think they're pretty much set on their starters at this point. Position players, I think that's, I don't see them changing anything there. Bullpen would be the only thing I would see, and I think it'll be a pretty marginal move. They did make one deal with Tampa Bay, which scared the shit out of me. They did get Andrew Kittredge from the Rays. Now, he was out on Tommy John, came back last year. From what I've read, he looked really good down the stretch as he finished the year with the Rays. But Richie Palacios was dealt by the Cardinals over to the Rays, so that might be the next All-Star American League outfielder.
Yeah, Ron, I posted about it.
I don't know why you deal with the Rays.
Run it by you because we didn't get a response from you. Does this make you nervous?
Yeah, of course.
Like somebody who looked good, the Rays said, "Oh yeah, no, you can have him."
Right. Well, yeah, of course. I mean, it's the Rays. Like, why are they dealing with the Rays of all teams? There's 28 other teams.
There's no monetary reason to deal him, right? Like, you could understand them dealing a Rosarina. He's going to get $9 million this year, and for the Rays, that's the equivalent of like Well, I was going to say Otani money, but he's only getting $2 million this year. So that's the equivalent of like Yamamoto money for the Rays, right? That's like a $25-30 million contract.
Right. Yep. That's true. And he's
so you can see a Rosarina.
They settled today for like $2.5 million, maybe just a little north of that. In arbitration. So they didn't go to arbitration. They came to an agreement before the deadline. So
you're right. 2.2.
Yeah. Okay. So it's a little bit less than that. Yeah. So not a. I don't know, maybe for the Rays it was. Maybe for a bullpen arm that's a little too rich for them. But yeah, dealing anything with Tampa, I just would advise against it.
Are you surprised that the Cardinals and Tommy Edman couldn't come to an agreement? They're less than $500,000 apart. They're really going to go to an arbitration hearing over that?
Oh, geez.
I'm never one of those.
Or is it because they're in the midst of contract extension talks?
I mean, I guess that could be a thing.
But is he worth? Are you going to extend him? Are you comfortable extending Tommy Edman for, let's say, an average annual value of $10 million for the next 4 or 5 years? You got to make it worth it for him.
Yeah, I'm gonna say yes in his case. It's not just because I like him as a player; he's a smart player. It's because he can play just about anywhere, and there's value there. So having him long term, I mean, I think the plan going into this year is Mason Wynn is your shortstop, right? Until he proves otherwise, until he proves maybe he needs more time in the minor leagues. But I think the plan right now is that he's going to be the starting shortstop. Tommy Edman I think he's going to be playing a lot of center field, which actually when they threw him out there, he actually played pretty good, right? So I think he's going to spend time in the outfield. He's going to, start a game or two at second base, at short, just about anywhere. So extending him, I wouldn't have a problem with that because he brings value other than just what he can do with the bat, which is from the left side is pretty light, a little bit better from the right side. But I think his defensive versatility and the quality of defense he brings to the table, like he can win you games in other ways, a lot of ways actually. So no, it wouldn't bother me. Do I think that's what's happening right now? I don't know. It is surprising though.
Your turn. Are the Cubs done?
No, I think
they're just getting started.
No,
that's right.
I think they're probably halfway done. I see possibly some starting pitching depth, a couple of relief pitchers I can see them doing. And one more position player / DH bat, third baseman, somewhere in that lines, but one of those, not
Chris
all
Bryant.
Of those. No.
Oh, okay.
Well, let's play that out. If the Cubs sign a third baseman, then Nick Madrigal and Patrick Wisdom are done with the Cubs.
Yes.
Because first base is now locked down. If you get a third baseman, then Morel's going to get all the DH at bats. There's no place for Wisdom and Madrigal on that team.
You probably see, if they make that third base acquisition, whether it's through trade or whether it's through free agency, I think you see Jed trade some MLB guys for prospects. For additional prospects.
So thinking specifically Wisdom and Madrigal.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, you're not going to get any.
You're not going to get
worth anything.
No,
you'll get super young guys. I mean, you're not going to get top 100 anything.
You might be able to fill a little bit of depth with those guys, right, in your minor league system, but not.
Because right now your farm system with the addition of Bush, because technically he's still a farm
better than fair. Well, yeah, they re-ranked him, and he's already the Cubs' number 3 prospect now.
Yeah, and that gives the Cubs 7 top 100 MLB pipeline guys, which puts them at the top. No other team has 7 in the MLB top 100.
Need I tell you guys about getting overly excited about that stuff?
I get it,
Yeah.
but it's just funny.
And that's the funny thing about it, right? Because you know that there are, and not that I've necessarily seen them, but you know that there are Cubs fans out there who are prospect guys. Tim Huve is probably the first one at the top of it, who are not fans of this trade, that they see too much future potential for Jackson Ferris and Zaire Hope. And so they don't want to trade possible future prospects for current prospects. Like,
right.
It's some point.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Like, they either have to play or you have to get rid of them. You can't keep them all.
Right.
Wow. You guys are like 5 years behind. You guys, when I was saying this shit years ago, it didn't, like, you understood, like, it's like reading something. You understand it on paper, but you have no idea what it feels like in reality.
Well, when you're
this is the kind of shit I was saying years ago.
28 out of 30. You don't really don't pay attention to it at all because there's nothing there.
Then it lands in your lap and you're like, fuck, what do I do with this?
Baseball.
Yeah.
But now when you're sitting there and you've got all this stuff in your arms, you're like, I don't want to get rid of any of it.
Yeah. This is my stuff. It's going to be good stuff. It's going to be better.
That's right.
I'm going to feed it and water it. It's going to be great.
Yeah. You can pet it.
And stroke it. Naughty little pet.
I don't know if either of you guys are going to get this reference, but all of a sudden you're going to be Jennifer Connelly in Labyrinth, right? All of your little stuff. No,
Power of the Babe.
I mean, that's a strange. The Labyrinth is a strange reference just to arrive at this show for whatever reason. But
it's not that strange.
Sorry,
it's sci-fi fantasy.
I think
it's
Jennifer
Henson. So there's a connection with Yoda.
Connelly was like a kid in that movie, right?
She was.
She was
like
really young.
13?
No, she was like 16.
No, was she? Okay.
Jennifer Connelly, though.
Yeah.
Not in the Labyrinth, but later.
Ever in Labyrinth and Labyrinth. Oh, I had such a crush on her when I saw Labyrinth.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't.
What year was that?
Geez, I'm trying to think of the movie where she was like a heroin addict, right? Like, what was that movie? Had Jared Leto was in it too, I believe.
Yeah.
One of the Wayans kids, I think, too. Damn it. Anyway, when I think of that movie, I'm just like,
Requiem for a Dream.
Requiem for a Dream.
There you go.
Man alive, she was.
She still is. Have you seen pictures of her?
Oh
recently?
yeah, she still looks beautiful. Maverick.
Oh my god.
The movie Maverick.
Well, I mean, it helps when you're in Hollywood, right? And that's your job is to be beautiful. You do everything that you can to stay attractive.
I know exactly what you mean. I mean, look at me in this. Look at me in this lighting.
That's right.
Right. The floating head.
All right, we're done, right?
Green screen FX. Yep.
I think we're done. Although, I mean, can we talk about it? What the hell are the Bears doing?
I wanted to avoid it, but yeah, fine.
What offensive coordinator is going to want to go to Chicago right now?
I've seen this movie before.
Well,
what they continue to do.
Well, it depends on. I mean, what are they?
You're going to be you're going to be working for a lame duck head coach.
Yes.
Why would you want to go? Unless you're going to roll the dice that Flus gets fired midway through the season and you get to be the interim and possibly get hired as the head coach.
I think that's got to be somebody's motivation out there, right? I think some of it depends on too.
Yeah, but which one of these experienced guys is going to want to come in on that?
Well, you might not get it. You might not get an experienced
guy.
Yeah.
You're going to get a guy who thinks that he's the next big thing and he's going to take the chance. He's going to bet on himself that he's got the offensive system and that Flus is going to get fired, even though he'll show out on offense.
Think Flus will hire Belichick, offensive coordinator, so he can prove himself? I'm kidding.
No, Belichick's a defensive guy.
Whatever. The guy wants to prove himself, so.
Yeah, I don't think Bill Belichick needs to prove himself.
What system guy are they going to go after? Are they going to go after a Shanahan guy? Are they going to go?
Well, they already started. So there are two names out there. There's the guy in Seattle, right? That they've asked for permission to interview.
I don't think they have to because they got rid of their head coach.
No, I think they do because he's still under contract. Shane Waldron. They did have to ask permission because he's still technically under contract. It doesn't matter that Carroll was let go. Waldron hasn't been let go.
Doesn't a lot of this really depend on what ultimately the decision is with Fields and that number 1 draft pick?
Maybe.
I think everything starts
Isn't
there.
that attractive anyway?
I think everything starts there.
Because clearly the work needs to be done on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
there probably is an attractiveness to coming to the Bears in that if you believe in Fields, you've got him, and then you make your case when you land and say trade the pick, get value, get assets, get me an offensive line, get me a center, get me a wide receiver, and I can make this thing go.
Well, I mean,
or
I've been hearing that a lot. Trade
Caleb
the pick.
Williams, draft Drake May, right?
I've been hearing this a lot, like trade the pick, right? And there's good logic to it. Like, because look, if you trade down a little bit, all these other teams are going to end up taking quarterbacks anyway. Maybe Harrison Jr. is available, like even later, right? And then you got another pick next year. But it's like just knowing the Bears like we do, guys, and going through this all the time with them, like so much of me just like fuck it, make that first pick, draft him, screw it.
Yeah,
just do what you need to do.
Junior and pay him.
Don't leave any mystery out there, like or somebody sideswiping you and surprising you and taking him off the board. Like get him and get it over with. With that 10th pick, start pecking away at your offensive line at that point because then you'll have DJ Moore, Harrison Jr., Kmet, targets for Justin Fields if that's what they want to do. Man, I'd just rather see that.
I honestly
mostly because I don't trust them.
Disagree.
Any tight end from Iowa, just get any tight end from Iowa.
I don't disagree at all, Ron, because teams always think that they end up being too clever by half. They're like, oh well, you know what we can do if we trade down to the 4 pick. We know that 1, 2, and 3 are all interested in quarterbacks. Or I'm sorry, we all know. Yeah, we know that 1, 2, and 3 want quarterbacks
until they don't.
If we or 2, 3, and 4 want quarterbacks, so we can trade down to 4 because 5 is our real threat on Marvin Harrison Jr. And then 3 ends up taking him, and now you're screwed because you missed out on the guy that you wanted and who's available to you. You're not going to overdraft. So then you end up trading back again because you're not going to pick a quarterback.
I don't want them to screw
I
around
agree
with
you. If Harrison is your guy, you take him number 1.
Yeah, just take
him the money.
Yep.
Just take him.
Don't screw around.
For most of these guys, he's their 1 or 2. For most of the draft, the draft nicks, he's their 1 or 2 prospect anyway. You could totally justify taking him with the first pick.
Yeah, and they need it. It's a position of need. So
it is.
It's a huge position of need. You need to open up that field so that it's not double team DJ Moore and then you play zone or you man on man to everybody else because they can't get fucking open.
And this that it's cliche now, but the phrase "fuck around and find out." If that's what they do with this first round pick, I think that's what's going to happen. That's my fear.
Yeah. My sincere hope in this is that Ryan Poles did well with the number 1 pick last year.
Yeah.
And so the hope
see him
is
fleece somebody.
well, yeah, the hope is that he does the right thing with it again this year.
Yeah. Yeah. Because the Bears did.
They don't
fleece the Panthers. I cannot believe they got that.
I can.
You get DJ Moore and the number 1 pick.
Not only the number 1 pick, but they've got Carolina's number 2 next year.
Number 2 next year, yeah. Which could be the 33rd pick of the draft.
Right.
Well, and that owner's that Carolina owner is not a hothead or anything, so I'm sure he's
he
dealing well.
Drinks on people.
No.
Stuff,
No.
All right. So I was thinking about it. Who are is there a baseball ownership or a baseball team that compares to the Bears? I was trying to figure it out this afternoon and I couldn't come up with one. A team that doesn't seem to have a plan, that just bounces from one thing to another and just has no idea what they're doing and can never put together anything comprehensive, can't put together a sustained winner whatsoever.
I mean, Pittsburgh's almost there.
No, it's not the same. Ron, who you got?
San Diego. If you think about it.
You think?
Yeah. No. I know they've been riding a high for like 2 or 3 years here, right? But
the Bears have done
that's
that.
not
right. They did that.
right.
Under
The
Lovie
Bears,
Smith.
the Bears are like, watching a sound wave on a monitor, right? Like they'll have their ups and downs, mostly downs, but then they'll have that little peak every once in a while. It's kind of like watching a heart monitor. That's what the Bears will do. They'll be relevant every 6 or 7 years, and they'll really suck in between. If I look at the Padres, yeah, it might resemble a plan. They collected all this talent, but it's the Padres, and it's not going to work, and it never works. And then they have to blow it up, and they have to hire a new manager, hire a new front office, maybe sell the team down the road. Who knows? That's who they remind me of. My second choice, probably not too far off, would probably be the Mets.
I was going to say the Mets.
Yeah.
That was the team that first came to mind, right? Accepting the whole Steve Cohen thing. But that's what I was thinking too, right? Like they had a championship within memory.
Yeah.
And the fans are still living on that memory. But they've never been able to put it together. They've threatened all the time. They look like they're going to be good.
Yeah.
Oh, this is our year. And
if we weren't tying a name to it, I could say you're talking about the Padres too.
Yeah.
Because I can't even throw the Pittsburgh into that equation, Elliot, because
no.
Every once in a while the Bears will have a good season. They'll beat the Packers in a game even. They'll get to the,
they'll even fire head coaches who go 10-5.
Yeah.
Or 11-5.
I mean, yeah, that was a good question. I like that game.
Yeah, I thought so.
Bad contracts, throwing money around to try to fix problems. Yeah. It's the Padres and Mets right there, buddy.
Just play at the top of the market with no ultimate sense of how a particular piece is going to fit into your system. Just, hey.
Dark horse candidate for that, Seattle Mariners.
Yeah, but
they're not quite as...
Bears have never had anybody who's a wheeler and dealer. Like, nobody's like him.
No. Well, I don't know. No, he's a wheeler and dealer, right? The Padres had 2 of those in a row. Like guys that'll GMs that are not like drunken sailors, right? On deadline day. I
tell you what, it's got to be kind of fun to be a fan of the Seattle Mariners simply because that in the offseason and at the trade deadline, your team is going to be active.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
No matter
your team
what.
is never going to sit on the sidelines. They may never win a World Series, but they're going to be in the mix. That your team, that something's going to happen with your team. And so while you may not be entertained on the field, you will be entertained off the field.
And every once in a while,
they're going to be making moves.
Every once in a while, you'll sign that free agent you probably had no business signing, like Robinson Cano or Adrian Beltre. You sign the big guy, no plan to put a team around him or to compete. But you get that name. You sell a few jerseys. You deal them 2 or 3 years later. That's kind of how it works. And they dealt Cano to the Mets. Huh. There they are again.
Oh, the Mets.
All right. You got your exit up?
I do have my exit up. Do you want me to read it?
If you're ready. If you're done talking about the Bears, because I sure as hell am.
And yet we're not going to be done hearing about them because they're going to be everywhere. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to leave a comment and subscribe. And if you want to help spread the word, please give us a 5-star review and tell your friends to do the same. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever else you listen to podcasts. And we also occasionally live stream, like tonight, on Rumble, Facebook, and YouTube. And since they reposted us on X, be sure to check out the other Gateway City Sports Network podcasts. Well, I'll say including the Derek King Sports Show, for example, because I'm pretty sure he's still doing it.
I don't know.
Anyway, you can find Elliot on X at
TOR_Elliot.
And you can find number 151 at...
Oh, it's gone. It's not on the screen anymore. TOR_Ron75. I must have hid that.
Outstanding.
Maybe I don't want any followers.
Get in touch with us at any social media channel at Team of Rivals Pod.
All right, Pete. Wonderful exit once again. We've done this 2 weeks in a row. Amazingly enough, we're getting the motivation somewhere. It's coming from the well. I guess when you do this going on your 8th year, you can just drum up energy where you don't even know you have it. And so here we are. finishing off another Thursday night. Maybe we'll be back again next week. I hope there's less to talk about.
And I got to tell you, Ron.
Yeah.
I'm just going to give you a little bit of credit here. Tonight's show title.
Already got it.
I know. Well, we're not touching it. It was perfect.
You like it?
I saw that and I was like, yeah, no, I don't care what we say during the course of this show. That's absolutely the episode title.
Does Elliot know?
Well done.
Does Elliot know? Do you know what I named it?
Curb Your Enthusiasm.
There you go. What a fucking genius. All right. All right. We love y'all so much.
Beautiful.
Until next week. Bye-bye, everyone.